TechFest, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you all to our digital festival. So for the second year running, TechFest is hosting an entirely digital festival, and we're so glad that wherever you are, you've been able to join us today. And of course, none of this would have been possible if it wasn't for the support of our wonderful sponsors. So I do want to take this opportunity to say a huge thank you to our joint principal sponsors, BP and Shell, and also to Equinor, who have very kindly sponsored the digital public programme. And somebody else who we very much appreciate is today's fabulous presenter. We're very, very lucky to be joined by the incredible Amazelab. We're so delighted to have them here as part of our digital festival. And in case anybody doesn't know, we actually did an online vote to see which of their fabulous workshops we were going to run this afternoon. And I'm very excited to let you know that as a result of that vote, we're going to be making chromatography butterflies today. So hopefully you've got the materials out in front of you now so you can follow along at home. But if you don't worry, you can watch this video and do it in your own time. This video is going to go up on YouTube after today's live event as well. So you can go back and watch the instructions and follow along with the video. You'll also notice that all of your microphones have been muted and your cameras are off, but don't worry, there will be a chance to ask questions at the end. The reason why we're asking to keep your microphone and your camera off at the moment is because we are recording this event. Like I said, it's going to go up on YouTube later. So because we're recording, we've kept your cameras and your microphones off. But once we stop recording, at that point, there's a chance to ask questions and you can either type them in the chat, or if you'd rather, you could turn on your microphone at that point and ask any questions that you've got. I think that covers all of the housekeeping. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and stop talking and pass you over to the incredible Amazelab.
Oh, hi everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday afternoon. I'm all the way down in South Yorkshire, which always feels very northern to me, but obviously compared to a lot of people up in Scotland, I know that I'm very much a southerner to all of you. But like I say, I'm in South Yorkshire today. It's absolutely lovely to meet everybody today. So my name's Lenny and I'm director of Amazelab. So we are a STEAM company, so all things science, technology, engineering, the arts and math. And if you do want to share any of your creations, do tag us both in, obviously only with adult permission, so that we can see the wonderful things that you have made today. If anybody needs me to do anything a little bit slower or to repeat anything, just pop a message into the chat and then that's absolutely fine. And as it explained, this session will be recorded, so you're more than happy to go back and rewind and watch it again. So just here is what we are going to be creating today. So this is one of my little chromatography butterflies. So I hope that everybody really enjoys this super fun creative but packed full of learning workshop. So we're going to be till about 4:30, but we will finish around 25 past, so that any questions that you've got, I promise I will try my best to answer. Now, these little butterflies are going to need a little bit of drying time. So I am going to do a tiny bit of, here's one I made earlier, but please do follow along with me if you do have the materials, or you're more than welcome just to watch the demonstration. And then you can use your follow along fact sheet. So anything that you don't remember or you might have forgotten, once your butterfly has dried, hopefully you can then finish that off this evening or tomorrow. Or you might want to challenge yourself and then start to teach other people, either in your family or people who you live near or maybe go to school with. So hopefully by 4:30 today, we all will have learnt a brand new skill. So what do we need to make our chromatography butterfly? We will have a look in my tray here. So you're going to need some kind of filter paper. It does not have to be a special chromatography paper. I know that I've got some chromatography paper here, but also that's only because I run a lot of like science workshops. But you can use some kitchen rolls, so like some kitchen towel, or you can use a coffee filter. So anything along those lines will work for your chromatography butterflies. And again, it doesn't necessarily matter what shape it is. You might even want to cut it into the shape of a beautiful butterfly, but I'm going to be using my round chromatography paper here. You are also going to need some felt tips, but here is a top tip. Sharpies will not work. It will just need to be a pack of felt tip pens. So if you've only got Sharpies, I'm afraid they won't work. Unfortunately, chromatography does not work with Sharpies. So do try and find just some felt tips. And again, you will need to be felt tip pens. It will not work with things like pencil crayons. You're then also going to need a pipe cleaner. Half of a pipe cleaner will probably work. I've just cut mine in half here. So a pipe cleaner, some water, just regular water out of the tap. And I'm going to use a straw, but you could use a pipette, you could use a spoon. So let's just quickly recap the materials, what you'll need, and then I might just give you all 1 minute. So if you think, do you know what, actually, I've got that in the kitchen cupboard or lying about somewhere, we can make sure we're then all ready to join in. So just as a recap, a pipe cleaner, some filter paper, kitchen roll, chromatography paper, some water, some multicoloured or whatever you have, felt tip pens, and a straw. So I'm just going to give you a tiny little bit of time, just 30 seconds to a minute. Please don't injure yourself running around. Just so that if you would like to join in, you've just got a tiny bit of time just to make sure that you have gathered all of your equipment together. Like I say, you might be sat there ready and waiting with everything, or it might be that you just want to watch. That's absolutely fine. But again, I'm just going to give you about another 30 seconds just so that you can be gathering all of your equipment together to make our beautiful little chromatography butterflies today. And these, you can fasten them with their little antennae around your house. I tend to have them on the plants in my house. If you've got a holder, I'll fasten them onto them and you'll find them all over. You can also use these as a bit of a learning curve, like we'll start to learn about butterflies. We will investigate some changes with our chromatography, but how does that actually link to a butterfly, or why they're important, or what habitat they live at? There's so much that you can do from here. So hopefully now everybody who would like to join in, excuse me, has got all of your equipment. So the first thing we're going to start with is, well, what is chromatography? Well, my specialism is chemistry. So I absolutely love things that go whiz, bang, pop, and chromatography is honestly one of my favourite things. So when that came out top of the vote, I was absolutely over the moon. And that alongside Exploding Rainbows, probably my two favourite workshops. So chromatography is a separation technique, and it's actually used out in the real world. It can be used in forensic science, it can be used in testing of substances. And for example, if we look at this, we look at that and we think, well, that's a black pen. But is it just a black pen? Shall we do a bit of an investigation and find out? So I'm going to take a bit of my chromatography paper here, and onto that, I'm just going to put a dot of my black pen, and you can follow along with this investigation if you've got a spare piece of like your filter paper and a black pen. And I'm going to put a large dot of my black pen on the bottom of my filter paper. I'm just going to pop it into some water in this jar here. And just on the very bottom, I'm going to dip it into my water. Now, something quite magical is starting to happen. That water is starting to move, looks a bit like magic, up my filter paper or my chromatography paper. And that process is actually called capillary action. And that is where the water will slowly progress all the way along my filter paper. So if I leave that there taking place, well, something's starting to happen. It looks a bit like my little black ink dot is starting to grow. And even in this very, very early stage, we can already see that actually that black pen isn't just a black pen after all, is it? Well, it's actually got some yellow in it, and it's got some brown in it, and some light blue, and some blue around the edge, and some purple. So this is masquerading as a black pen, but actually using that process of chromatography, we can already see that that black pen is made up of lots and lots of different colours. And it's this process that is going to make our butterflies look absolutely beautiful. So I will leave it on the side, and like I say, you can all see all the different colours that are in my black pen. So what I'm going to do, start making my butterfly, is I'm going to take my filter paper. Like I say, you can use a coffee filter, chromatography paper, some kitchen roll, kitchen towel, whatever you have. And onto here, we need to draw some really nice patterns using all different colours. So let's all do that together. So I'm going to start to colour in my filter paper right here. So onto my filter paper, I'm going to add some black circles. So we will all do this together. And I'm going to put my black circles all the way around. And what I will do is once this piece of chromatography paper is dried, I will make it into a butterfly, especially for you, and I will post it on our Amazelab social media, because it will just need a little bit of time to dry. So I started to add all of my patterns onto my chromatography paper. So let us know, what patterns would you like to use? You might want to add triangles. You might like to add some stars. It might be some wavy lines. So any patterns that you would like to include, hopefully if you are able to follow along, everyone is following along and keeping to add the patterns onto their filter paper. So the idea is that I will give everybody time to add on their patterns. So I have got black circles, I've got some blue wavy lines, I'm now popping on some pink triangles, and you could even start to discuss with your families at home, because we found out, didn't we, that that black pen wasn't in fact a black pen at all. What colours do you think might be in all these different pens? What colours do you think blue pens might be made up of? What colours do you think purple pens might be made up of? Why don't you challenge yourself and have it as a bit of a family challenge, and then see who's right, see if anybody gets it right. So keep adding all of your patterns onto your paper, like so. So this is what mine is looking like. You can take your time over it and make sure yours is absolutely beautiful. So what other colour shall we use? Might pop a bit of red on next. Some little red stars. Put those on. You might want to use squares, but fill your paper with all different patterns. So that's what mine is looking like so far. I'll just pop one more colour onto mine. Don't worry if you haven't finished, you can continue and you can use a follow along fact sheet. So hopefully though by now everybody will have got some of their filter paper that is covered in patterns like so. So this is what we're going to do next for our next stage of making our chromatography butterflies. you will need a small pot of water. Now I'm going to use a straw, but like I say, you may want to use a spoon or a pipette, anything that you have at home. I'm going to take my straw and I'm going to add it into my water. I'm just going to pop my finger over the edge of the straw just to create some suction so that when I take it out, I've got some water in my straw. I'm then going to put my straw over my filter paper and I'm going to move my finger from the edge. And water is going to drop onto my filter paper. Do make sure you're doing this on a protective surface because some of the ink may go through. So you need to keep adding water with a spoon, a pipette, a straw onto your filter paper. And again, something quite magical is starting to happen, isn't it? What is happening to all of those colours that you have put on? They are all starting to separate, aren't they? Via the process of chromatography. So again, mine's quite wet and soggy now. I'm just going to hold it up to show you. So can you all see what is happening to mine there? Please don't hold yours up and drop it all over. But all of the colours are starting to separate. And again, that challenge with your family of what colour do you think the black might be made up of, the purple, you'll get to find out right now. So your little piece of filter paper will now need to dry. Okay, so please make sure that you leave that on a plate or just on a surface that it won't damage. So you will need to put your filter paper to one side and allow it to dry. So here is where I've got a little bit of, here's one I made earlier. So do leave that to dry, keep testing it. Or you could speed it up with a hairdryer, but again, do be super careful and make sure that you've got adult permission, or just leave it on one side and it should be dry for later on this evening. And once it's dry, you will have a piece of filter paper that looks like this, full of all those patterns that you have created. So mine now that I made earlier is nice and dry. So we're now on to the next step of making our butterfly. So I'm going to take my filter paper and I'm going to put it nice and flat on a surface. And I'm going to start to concertina my filter paper. So I'm going to take a section of the filter paper and fold it over. I'm then going to turn over my filter paper and fold it back on itself and keep going like so, forward and backwards folding until I'm at the very end of my filter paper. So if I hold it out, it should look like that. So you've now got a really nice concertinaed pattern. So how is that going to become a butterfly, I hear you ask? So I'm going to take my concertinaed piece of filter paper and I'm now going to use my pipe cleaner. So I'm going to take my pipe cleaner and I am going to start to fasten it round my filter paper. So I'm going to take both ends of my pipe cleaner and I'm going to try and evenly fasten it round my butterfly. So it should start to look just like that. I am then going to twist my pipe cleaner round and I'm going to create some little antennas for my butterfly. So I'm going to do that just by taking my pipe cleaner and curling it round like so. So I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. I'm going to take my pipe cleaner and I'm going to slowly pop it round like so. Then to create a butterfly, you are going to reveal your beautiful chromatography pattern by opening up the wings. So all you need to do is where it's folded on one side is just to slowly bring them out like so and pull that one out like so. And then you will have your beautiful little mini chromatography butterfly. So it will look just like the ones that I have made here. And like I say, it could bring on so many other challenges. You could further investigate what chromatography is and how it is used out in the real world. You might want to investigate, well, what careers do you use chromatography for? Like I say, you might want to further investigate butterflies. You might want to take lots of different pens and see which one contains the most colour. And if you'd be able to do it, look at my black pen now, look at all the different colours that are inside my black pen. So hopefully your filter paper will now be drying. And once it's dry, all you need to do is concertina it, add your pipe cleaners, and you will have got your butterfly. I hope that everybody has really enjoyed their family follow on this Sunday afternoon, and we'd absolutely love to see your chromatography butterflies.